We begin with the big story that's been making waves on all our social media feeds. The big spat between Ola's Bhavish Aggarwal and stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra. Now, if you are someone who has been following the buzz around Ola electric scooters and the service issues that they have been facing for quite some time now, the recent clash between Ola's CEO Bhavish Aggarwal and comedian Kunal Kamra is hard to miss, to say the least. So, what exactly sparked this heated exchange? It all began when Kunal Kamra took to social media calling out Ola Electric for their poor service. He posted a picture showing dozens of Ola e-scooters or electric scooters piled up at a service center, claiming that the company was mistreating customers. Kamra did not stop there. He tagged government officials like Roadways Minister Nitin Gadkari, asking if Indian EV buyers deserved this kind of treatment. Bhavish Aggarwal did not take the criticism lightly, to say the least. In a fiery response, he accused Kunal Kamra of posting a paid tweet and even took jabs at Kamra's comedy career, sarcastically offering him a job at Ola with better pay than what he would make as a comedian. Aggarwal's comments went viral, garnering over 170,000 views, but the back and forth did not end there. The exchange set off a broader discussion about transparency, marketing practices, and the growing pains of India's electric vehicle industry. But here's where things get serious. Behind the Twitter drama lies a bigger issue: Ola Electric's after-sales service problems. Ola, India's largest electric two-wheeler manufacturer, has enjoyed massive growth and ambitious expansion plans. But customer complaints about long wait times for repairs, unavailable spare parts, and communication gaps have been mounting. Some users have reported waiting over a month to get their scooters fixed, while others claim that their scooters have been sitting in service centers for months together. These customer frustrations were not just for the social media. They have hit Ola where it hurts the most. After the public spat with Kamra, Ola Electric shares dropped about 8%, adding to a month-long slide that has seen the company's stock value plunge by over 20%. Earlier in the month of September, an angry Ola Electric customers allegedly set fire to a showroom in North Karnataka's Kalaburgi after his scooter was not repaired, according to police investigations. Now, the incident occurred amidst growing public dissatisfaction with Ola Electric service. Several mechanics have said that Ola service centers face major backlogs and are facing difficulties in dealing with the volume of complaints, apparently 80,000 nearly. While Ola Electric continues to lead in the sales department, the company faces a real challenge in winning back customer trust at this stage. It's clear that for many EV buyers, speed and convenience in service matter just as much as the thrill of the ride. Now, the big question remains: will Ola manage to turn things around? And to answer that question, we have a couple of very special guests joining us. We have Mr. Santosh Desai, brand consultant, joining us. Thank you so much, Santosh, for taking time out to be with us. We also have Mr. Dilip Chinoy, chairman, India Battery Swapping Association, also with us. Dilip, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. I'm going to begin with Santosh. Santosh, let's talk about Ola. It's a brand that's very familiar with people. So many people use the Ola ride booking service on a daily basis. Their ambitious plan was to go from just being a ride-hailing service to many more things. One of them clearly is becoming India's #1 electric vehicle manufacturer. And right now, the way things stand, they have 3 times the number of customer complaints as to the number of e-scooters that they're selling.
Yeah, no, I think they've had a really bad run. And I think it doesn't help that their preferred attitude whenever there is a problem is to lash back and is to be, in fact, very intemperate. And it smacks of arrogance. It smacks of high-handedness. It is, when you are actually down in the dumps with customers. And, I have just been watching it on social media. I'm not a customer, but the number of complaints that one comes across is unparalleled. I mean, compared to any other brand. Particularly this, and there are safety complaints also. It's not just about things not working. And on top of it, you have normally the company reactions that tends to be negative. It tends to be angry. It tends to be, vindictive in its nature. I haven't come across a company behaving like this. I haven't come across a brand treat its own problems in such a cavalier manner. And to that extent, I think everything that I think Ola is getting, I think it is deserving, because I think they have asked for it. I have really not come across a company behaving like this earlier.
Dilip, let me bring this back to you now. Talk to us. India's EV market is at a nascent stage, and you have the first timers trying out electric vehicles for the first time, and this is not the experience that they should be met with.
I think, Karthik, the Ola story is a very interesting story. It's very ambitious. I think Bhavish and team are trying to actually position them. They actually bought over a Dutch company earlier. It happened during COVID. They re-engineered the vehicle and they sold it. They also tried a very new model. So the model was, direct to customer and with sales and service, very few sales outlets, but many service outlets. Actually, the problem, as you mentioned in your opening comments, has been about for over a year now. And initially, they actually took a lot of steps to address the problem, whether it was creating a new department, whether it was looking at training over 1 lakh, technicians to do this, or even offering a replacement of a front kind of a fork free of cost and not really calling it a recall. So I think it is a challenging situation, and in these cases it's better if the OEs and the management of the OEs remain under the radar and actually do everything and anything for addressing consumer issues and challenges. The numbers that you have talked about in your opening statement are really alarming. It's not normally vehicles should not stay in for such long periods in storeroom in service stations, and I think there's a need for Ola to really address this in a very different manner. Having a spat of words on Twitter or other thing is not there. I think Santosh has very nicely captured that, and his advice between the lines need to be followed.
Santosh, let me bring this to you. From a pure brand perspective, look at the way the CEO spoke and look at the way the stock reacted 24 hours later. There is now a lot of talk about how ambitious CEOs of new age businesses are coming off as people who are extremely insensitive, are coming off as people who are extremely full of themselves. And that's definitely not good for the brand or for the company going forward.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, this is clearly, it's salutary in terms of, the effect that we've seen the markets reacting the way they have. I think this is what illustrates, I think, very clearly that there is a cost to this. This doesn't have, your attitude has consequences. I think this spells it out very clearly. I think the fact that a lot of these companies, they get hyped, the individual, founders, they get celebrated, and it can become there is a godlike complex, that there's this god complex that gets created about the fact that you're infallible, and anyone who speaks against you either is being paid off to do so, or has somehow a vested interest, and where you choose to ignore the legitimate complaints from thousands, in this case thousands of people. And I think it smacks of this kind of almost blindness towards reality. And I think that this is a very good example of how not to do things. And the impact on brand, normally is more long term. This we've seen an immediate impact on the shares, but I think going forward, I think it really does not augur well for the brand unless there is a genuine corrective kind of action that is taken, above all beginning with attitude.
One is corrective action on the attitude, Dilip. The other is the corrective action on the product per se. There are now allegations that Ola, could have greased more palms because they've been the biggest beneficiaries of the PLI scheme. So there is, there's talk of, what is wrong with Ola? Did they get all that they got in terms of benefits from the PLI scheme rightfully? Are they manufacturing their electric two-wheelers in the right way? If they did, then how come so many complaints are coming their way?
Well, Karthik, there's many questions in one question. So let me break it down into bit-sized bites for the viewers. I think the first thing is, what is the product quality and have they gone through the, homologation process for the vehicles? I believe that it is mandatory, and I think the testing agencies within the country are fairly good and well equipped to actually homologate a vehicle. So I think from the vehicle production to getting it to the market, the homologation process has not been, I think is fairly robust and stable. The second issue really relates to the thing that you've talked about, the PLI schemes, and did they get the PLI scheme by some other means? I am afraid I am not the right person, or I'm not placed to actually address that. But on the face of it, I think the government has been fairly transparent. The committee has been very transparent in this whole process. So I think it's there. But the mere fact is that I think the challenge here is that, I think the model is more a challenge, because if you're looking at the numbers that you quoted, I'm just going by the numbers that you quoted and just using them as an example. 80,000 complaints, monthly, with around 430 service centers, and peaking daily at 6,000 to 7,000. I think that's a challenge in terms of numbers for the model that is there. And therefore, very possibly they have a lack of number of people adequately trained to analyze what's wrong in these scooters, and then given the focus is on building new products, perhaps they need to actually put in something. What are the software or hardware parts in these scooters that need to be repaired, replaced, and how quickly they could do it. I think the first initial reaction that they did was setting up, the service group within the company, taking people from different functions, was a good move. Unfortunately, now this Twitter spat, as you have called it, is actually drawing away attention from that. I believe that, even, if there's an audit or something like that, then possibly, I don't think the authorities, etc., are there to blame, but this is a challenge.
All right.
Which needs to, it's a service issue. It's a customer focus issue, right? And possibly, there is a system by which every certain X scooter or X vehicle is taken off the assembly line,
right,
and tested against the homologation thing. So I presume all of that is in process.
Okay. At this stage, we can only hope that Ola is able to turn things around, be it in terms of the messages they're putting out or the two-wheelers that they're putting out over there. But for now, we'll leave it at that.